All right, listen, I just have about 20 minutes because, we've been going in and out with all kind of meetings, as you can imagine. And but I just like to give it to you some key principles that I personally have experienced over and over again. And even this crisis that we have right now is proving itself to be, how do you say, a very good springboard for all these principles. Now, you know that in Italy we have markets. In the States you have the garage sales. In Italy we got markets, and they're really beautiful. And there are two types of markets. About 98% of the markets is the place where you go and you find all kinds of cheap stuff and sales, right? And lots of stuff made in China, that looks real, looks good, authentic, but it's not. Then on the other side, there are about 3 or 4% of the markets in the little towns all over here, all over Italy, and Assisi and Florence and here in Rome and Sicily, where actually you go there and you got to have a lot of cash because you find incredible things at an incredible price, very expensive price. But, it's just for experts. And those things are authentic. I got a desk here that was built in the 1600s, okay? I got this in one of the markets and I paid a lot of money for it, okay? So when we think about crisis, the crisis is the event that divides the synthetic from the authentic, okay? It reveals your real motives, okay? And so, when I think about a leader in a crisis, the crisis is the time that either crushes you or lifts you up. I mean, the real leaders are not seen when everything is fine. The real leaders are seen in tough times. So that's why, there is no way that you can trust someone as a leader unless you can trace down in his life times of crisis. And it doesn't mean that you've always been good. It doesn't mean that you've always been, winning over the crisis. But if you can trace down the time after time, you've learned something, you apply something, you became a good leader. And so, we should welcome the crisis. And the first principle that I'd like to share with you is that a crisis smashes or reveals a leader. Now, we organize this very fast, but if we have more time in the future, we're going to have a little notebook so you can just fill out the blanks, okay? But the first point is just this: crisis smashes or reveals a leader. So a better question should be, are you authentic or are you synthetic? Leadership is the only thing in life, either personally or professionally, that you cannot put the label on sale. That's why I laugh when people just are selling courses, 2 steps, 5 steps, 10 steps, 10 videos, and to have a better life, to learn to be a leader. I'm telling you, leadership is a long trip, and I always thought just because I came from Sicily and because I was very extroverted and passionate that I was born a leader. But as you all know, leaders you become. You don't born as a leader. And the leaders are the recipients. Let me get this, which is very important. Always on the first crisis smashes or reveals a leader. The leaders are the recipients of the fear and the uncertainty of people. So right now, for example, we get so many calls, and as a leader, I have to embrace, I don't have to give an answer. It would be very wrong also because I tell you the truth. Sometimes I do not have an answer. Right now, we just need medical equipment, and we can't find masks. In the hospitals, the doctors and nurses are going around without any masks. So how do I solve this problem? So the leader has to become a recipient of the fears and the uncertainty of people. So, under the crisis smashes or reveals a leader, the leader, when there is a crisis, the first thing he has to do, he has to be a counselor more than a dictator. Because usually, there is a crisis, you get the leader, and he'll tell you exactly what you need to do. No. You have to be a counselor. You have to be the recipient of the fears and the uncertainties of your team, of the people that follow you. They have to find in you a counselor, not just someone who's got the answer. They don't want an answer. They want to be hugged. I know, coronavirus, you can't do that. But anyways, they need to be hugged. They need to feel like you care for me as a person, as a teammate. And the second thing the second principle, we're going to have 5, is we need to be optimistic. Okay, we need to be optimistic. Now, as you know, we can never find certainties all the way through. There are times in life when certainties are very hard to find. Someone that will have some certainties at this particular time with the crash of the market and so on and so forth. But in life, you don't need to be certain about something. You need to be clear about something. Okay? So to be clear is to be preferred to be certain. And that's why we are optimistic, because we might not see sure things on our path, but we have a clear vision of what's going to happen. And I'm telling you one thing, if history has taught us anything, is that crises are not eternal. God is eternal, but crises are not eternal. We know this. I mean, it's in our life, there have been times when we said, "Oh my Lord, I can't do that." And then we turn around and said, "Wow, I did it." How did that happen? I don't know. So we need to have the posture, the attitude of being optimistic. Because you see, if we are not optimistic and we are pessimistic or we're fearful, 2 things happen. Get this very clear. 2 things happen. Number 1, we stop our ability to get the true information. So there is so much information out there. But if you're fearful, you're not optimistic, all you're going to be, finding is all the bad information. And so fear will keep away that good information that will turn your life around, that will get you out of the crisis. The second thing that fear will do, not only will stop your ability to find new information, but it will stop your capacity to develop creative solutions. You cannot find a solution if you are not concentrating on solutions. So if I concentrate on fear, I'm not optimistic. Do you know what's going to happen? I'll never find it. There is something in our brain that's called the active reticular system, okay? And in Italian, it's the other way around, sistema reticolare attivo. Anyways, it goes the other way around, but it's the same thing. It's when your mind gets focused on something, it'll get there. It's like when Sandra got pregnant. Man, I was seeing, pregnant women all over the places. When I decided to buy my Tolly boat that Susan knows, I was seeing Tollys all over the places, even though they were out of the market like 30 years ago or something. So that's what it is. We need to be optimistic because the solution of a crisis comes from being optimistic and not fearful. Number 3, we need to focus on facts, on truth, on things that do not change. So when there is a crisis, are you going to be trusting on the selling of your products? Are you going to be trusting on the fluctuation of the market? Are you going to be trusting? What are you going to be trusting? We need to trust on certain things. We need to focus on those. So, John Maxwell, he says, my motto is add value to others. That's a principle. Now, that is an irrefutable principle. That's another word to say we can be certain of the fact that if we want to add value to other people, a way or another, we're going to gain. We're going to have a profit. It might take time, but it's going to come. I'm 64 years old, and for the past 25 years, I invested in the next generation. People thought, you crazy in doing this, So I stopped being a prima donna, and boy, I knew how to be a prima donna, but I said, that's it. I found out. I added value to others. Right now, it's rolling, you guys. It's rolling. It's coming back to me over and over again. And that's really incredible. So encouragement, let's focus on things like adding value to others, on encouraging one another, encouraging people. So especially in you guys' business, if you're going to go there and you spend 90% of your time encouraging people, I'm telling you, in that 10% time that you have, you'll sell so much because they need encouragement. I always think of this. Encouragement is like the oxygen of the soul. I mean, I love to smile at people. I love to hug people. I love to just, being part of their lives. And so in times of crisis, focus on facts, on truth that is irrefutable. And trust in our abilities. In a time of crisis, let's not get out of our areas of strength. Because, you're just panicking, and all at once you feel insecure. And when you feel insecure because of the crisis, or because of the fear and anxiety, do you know what's going to happen? You start moving in areas where you are not strong. So it's very important, to get out of our comfort zone, but never getting out of our area of strength. That's another certain thing that we need to put down as a focus during a time of crisis. So, we need to be, the crisis will reveal if we're synthetic or authentic. Number 2, we need to be optimistic. Number 3, we need to focus on facts, on truth, on things that do not change. And number 4, we need to focus on future positive results. In a time of crisis, look at me. We need to look at the big picture. We cannot allow the single event, a virus, for example, that will last for maybe 2 years, to ruin the whole big picture of our life. I mean, that's a matter of fact, I cannot look on some faults or some mistakes made by some of my teammates and ruin the big picture. I mean, those guys have been with me. They're part of my team. They're good. They screwed up this time. Okay, that's fine. I'll freak out a little bit. But man, I will look at the big picture because the big picture is the most important thing. The big picture is the perspective, It's like the prism. There is the light that comes, and then through the prism, just by moving the prism, I can see different colors, right? And if I will use something else than a prism, it won't work. It won't work. So the prism is my attitude to look at the big picture in a time of crisis. Boy, that's really incredible. Number 5, even though I look at the big picture, and even though I know that tomorrow is going to be better, Gone with the Wind, back then in the 30s, at the end of the movie, tomorrow is another day, Gosh, man, we could write books on that, The fact that tomorrow is going to be better. The fact that history has taught us one sure thing, and that is that whatever night, however long the night might be, the daylight is going to come all the time. Well, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? We got this coronavirus, and every day is a beautiful day here. It's a sunny day. I mean, it's just incredible. It's like the nature wants to remind us, hey, don't worry about it. Sooner or later, things are going to get better. The last thing I like to say with you is the reality test. The reality test. Because the fact that we are positive and optimistic and the fact that we look at the big picture, it doesn't mean that today we are in a position of need. We are facing a crisis, right? And so how do I connect from the ordinary life to this extraordinary event, which is my crisis today? And not for everybody, the crisis is the coronavirus, for example, right now. And I like to share this with you. Look, the GPS is a wonderful invention, I mean, when I'm on the boat, in the car, I mean, I cannot even remember those days when all we had were the maps, you know, and how in the world did I go to Los Angeles, you know, from Seattle, you know, just with the maps? We did it, but now it's much better. However, with all the goodness and the precision of a GPS, the GPS will never show me the way unless I will reveal my current location. So some people will tell you, boy, this is wonderful, this is where you need to be. That is the way that brings you to success. But the bottom line is, I need to find out where I am right now. So in a time of crisis, it is very important to slow down. You know, the Romans, have you ever seen those paintings of the Romans just, you know, just laying down, you know, with the grapes, you know, with the wine? And they were used to do that. That was called the otium in Latin. Otium means idleness. That's what you have in the States, idleness in English, you know. But idleness means that you're lazy, that you are not a good guy. But you know, otium, the real root of the concept, that's why they were just, you know, drinking wine and eating grapes, is that was the time for them, those were the generals after the wars and everything, to think and reflect about things, okay? So when I think about a crisis, I think about being on the boat, trying to moor or trying to dock the boat on a windy day with the currents coming to LeConner, Skagit County, you know, port. And all at once I cannot, because the currents are too strong and I don't have the boat thruster, I don't know where I'm going. So there is one thing for us sailors that says neutral is your friend. So you got to put it on neutral. Put it on neutral. You know, don't worry about it. Don't freak out. Put it on neutral. So in other words, take your time, calm down, balance, assess the situation, finding out how to stabilize the situation. So in a time of crisis, I'm asking you to do the reality check and do three things. Number one, stabilize, you know, the stabilization of the situation, okay? Really find out how bad the situation is. It is bad, but maybe not as bad as you thought it was gonna be. Number two, organize your talents, organize your resources, organize in the right place, in the right way, or organize through connecting. The power of connection, you know. I'm trying to connect with you guys. Everybody communicates, very few people connect. And we Sicilians connect because we don't talk with our brain, unfortunately, you know. We talk with our heart. But when we start using our natural gift of talking with our heart, by using our brain, we're invincible, all right? Because when you organize something after stabilizing the situation, you have to connect. There are some people that are wonderful, but you put them together, it's not going to work. It's nobody's fault. They just don't work together. And the big mission of a leader is finding the best out of people and placing them in the right position. Number three, mobilize. Mobilize your plan that you have organized after you stabilized everything. Mobilize with the right people, putting them in the right place. And as we always say, almost over with this first lesson, teamwork makes the dream work. But let me finish with this expression. For a leader, the crisis usually comes as a surprise. And there is nothing wrong in admitting, even as a leader, oh my goodness, I'm surprised by this, you know. But for a lot of people, the surprise is like a hammer that just fell on your head. But for the true leader, the one who knows how to dribble through the crisis, the surprise is a pleasant surprise. That's right, a pleasant surprise. So, am I just out of the ordinary? No. Do I get scared sometimes? Yes. But you know what? I'm pleasantly surprised because I know that the night is going to go away and I'm going to be a better leader as a result of the crisis.